You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button.
We'll practice early in the morning. We'll finish up around 11:30, 11:45. We had our big meal Sunday, as a team. And then we'll get them in and out of here pretty early by noontime and let them, for those that are close enough to get home to be with families. For those that don't, the coaches will take in the remaining players.
I love that, by the way, that the players from out of town who are here for Thanksgiving go to coaches' homes for Thanksgiving. That's really cool. But it is Thanksgiving week, so it's not anything new for these players or these coaches, but it is a different week how it's formatted with the fall break coming here and with the vacation for Thanksgiving, and with students leaving campus and then the players obviously having to practice Thursday morning to then be able to go home. It just changes routine a little bit, but sometimes how you handle routine change determines a lot of your abilities to succeed. Brian Kelly was asked that, actually. This number 19, Muse, if we could. He was asked about this week and how it changes your preparation for the week.
Well, classes end on Wednesday at 12:30, so we'll have plenty of time with our team. It's an early start, so you're changing your routine up a little bit. We'll get to the hotel a little bit earlier on Friday to make sure that we finish up a little bit earlier Friday night, because we'll have an early morning on Saturday.
Of course, it'll be the big difference playing in the 11 a.m. game at home as opposed to on the road. You're not stopping at a car lot, whatever, used car lot like they were on the way to Starkville. But that worked out well for LSU, and of course they won the 11 a.m. kickoff against Missouri. So the Tigers have won these early kickoffs this year. They have been ready to go and have played well in those football games. You could argue that the Mississippi State game was LSU's most dominant win. Maybe Auburn, but certainly on the road, it was LSU. We were pretty optimistic about the team at that point of the season, coming off the Florida State loss, that they were actually improving after Grambling Mississippi State. But nonetheless, when Brian Kelly met with reporters, he was asked. Coming out of Saturday, I was asked a ton about Whit Weeks, and I know a lot of people have been asked and are curious about Whit Weeks. He's had a fantastic freshman season. When Omar Spates was injured earlier this year, Weeks started 3 times in his place and was a super productive player. And I think I understand from the fans' perspective that when you see a player that flashes, that's constantly having his name called and making plays, you wonder, why isn't he playing more? And so Weeks did not play on Saturday against Georgia State. And then West Weeks, his brother, tweets free 40, assuming that meant, there was something nefarious going on, why Whit Weeks hadn't been playing. Well, Brian Kelly cleared the air on Monday.
Yeah, he's been injured. He had an accident that left a nasty gash in his foot, and he wasn't able to play at the highest level. We could probably got him in the Georgia State game. That was my decision not to play him. I did not want to, put him in a game where, he pops 2 or 3 of those stitches, and then we didn't have him for A&M. We're going to need him this weekend.
So that's good to see. I know everybody's excited about Whit Weeks, and he started 3 times this year. He didn't record a stat against Florida and then didn't play against Georgia State, but you heard Brian Kelly say he'll be back this week. And really, when you look at that Mississippi State game where he started, he had 8 tackles and was kind of all over the field. And then he followed that up in the game against Arkansas where he had 9 tackles, TFL, half a sack. Against Ole Miss, he had 9 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss. In the game, not much went well offensively for LSU. And so a lot of people have been wondering, why isn't Whit Weeks playing more when the defense has been playing so bad? I want to remind you this. This was about a month ago when, do you have the date on it? What was the date on it, Muse?
October 2nd.
So October 2nd. So a little more than a month ago. This was after the Ole Miss loss. And Brian Kelly was asked about about Whit Weeks and why he wasn't playing more. Here's what Brian Kelly said.
Yeah, I mean, we love his energy. We love what he's doing. You know, we want him to continue to grow, continue to do what he's doing. There's nothing that we don't like about him, but he's learning the position.
He's learning the position. Whenever something like this comes up with a player, I tend to defer to the coaches. And it's not to say that coaches are infallible. But being around this long enough, one thing that I do know is that you and I aren't at practice every day. And you could say, well, maybe he's not great at practice, but he's good in the game. The other thing, too, is you don't know what the play call was, what the defensive call was in a game. And how many times might that person not be making a play that you're unaware of? Like, you notice the positives, you don't notice the negatives, if that makes sense. It's not like a defensive back getting beat, but what if you're supposed to turn and cover? What if you're supposed to fill a gap? And we just don't know what that job is. Like, it's very obvious that the kid's fast and athletic, he makes plays and tackles, and that's awesome. And I would argue, as many of you would, on a defense this bad, could it be any worse? But if you're Brian Kelly and this coaching staff and you're looking at a guy like Omar Spates and you go, that's a fifth-year player, he's got a ton of experience, there's more upside with a guy like Weeks, but do you want to have the guy on the field that's been in these environments more and knows where to be and the calls and all that stuff? Maybe that's the explanation. You hear Brian Kelly say he's learning the position, right? He's learning the position. So he's telling you the answer there, that there's a greater expectation that they don't feel like he's able to get up to speed with. So we see it all the time with young, talented players, and they love Whit Weeks, and he's going to play a ton more. And I know that's not an explanation that fans love to hear, and I'm with you on it, but especially when it's frustrating watching a defense that's been so bad. But just doing this long enough, I've just come to trust that the coaches know better. Like, they know their players. They know their personnel. They know who's capable of what the expectations are. So, you know, we'll all be really excited to watch Whit Weeks continue to grow throughout his LSU career. But the mystery as to why he's not been playing, Brian Kelly was pretty direct. He had a gash on his foot. He had stitches, got the stitches out on Sunday, and they expect him to be able to go this week against Texas A&M. Same is the expectation for running back Logan Diggs, who's missed the past 2 games with what Brian Kelly called an upper body injury. Here was the update on Diggs.
Yeah, he was with the team. He should be available. He's been dealing with an upper body injury. He's in good stead with the team. So he was with us at the hotel. He was with us throughout. He may have popped inside for a little bit, but he was with us throughout the entire week of preparation. He tried, diligently on Thursday. We put him through a pretty good workout on Thursday. We just felt like, again, with the depth that we have at that position, we wanted him. He's a guy that initiates contact. He's a physical runner. We wanted him 100% for an A&M.
So that makes sense. He wasn't ready to go against Florida. You didn't need him against Georgia State. It was a great opportunity to get Josh Williams and Logan Diggs, Josh Williams and Noah Cain and Caleb Jackson some run, which was Trey Holly got in there as well. It's a great opportunity for those guys. And you got an extra week to get Logan Diggs healthy for a game where you may really need him against the most physical defensive front you're going to see all year. Logan Diggs is another one of the interesting ones to keep an eye on this year. One of the things Brian Kelly talked about was, can you play number 7 real quick, Muse? So it's senior day, and there's a lot of seniors who may go through senior day who still have the opportunity to come back for another year. Brian Kelly talked about that. Each
year, we go through this process where you could have a couple senior days. It's one of those kind of situations where, we're really working off of their academic calendar, not necessarily their eligibility calendar. So we want to be able to honor them off of their academic calendar and what they've done in the classroom. And so there is that opportunity that somebody could come back because we're still dealing with the COVID year as that additional year of eligibility.
Kyron Lacey was mentioned by name, who's a senior in classification but has another year. Josh Williams, who was part of the 2019 season, who redshirted, got the COVID year, could come back next year again if he wanted to return for another season. Now, I brought this up because of Logan Diggs. Diggs isn't a senior, but Diggs is a guy who could choose to leave for the draft because this is his 3rd year of college football. He's 3 years out of high school. He could choose to leave early. So it's one of those it's the time in the calendar where we start to look at, all right, who's coming back, who's possibly playing their last game in Tiger Stadium on Saturday. And those are a few that we'll keep an eye on. I think Logan Diggs will have an interesting decision to make as well. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.